Okay, first of all, I just want to thank Eric for buying me 5 coffees. Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate you. And he writes, I found your channel a few weeks ago and I find your training methods approachable. I've been training muscle ups for about 6 weeks now and hope to translate the strength, which I'm close to having, to the technique, which I don't yet have, to sets of 7 or 8, not necessarily unbroken, within a minute or two. Aggressive, but I think it's doable, especially with your guidance. And Eric also joined my 8-week muscle up coaching and we just started working together. I got his first videos and I'm really looking forward seeing you get stronger, perfecting your technique and eventually getting your first bodyweight muscle up. And thanks again for the coffees, Eric. Cheers. So Christopher asks, what are the prerequisites for muscle ups? Yeah, that's a great question. I would say before starting your muscle up journey, it's good to have built up like a basic ground strength, so to speak. And it necessarily doesn't have to do anything with the actual muscle up. I would recommend that you have around 10 pull-ups with good form, around 20 dips and 30 push-ups. If you have that, you have a good like baseline strength. Mainly because we want our tendons and ligaments to be prepared for the muscle up, which is a more taxing exercise, I would say. But there are no like precise numbers, but I would say that that is a good guideline for starting your muscle up journey. And as I said, it has nothing really to do with the muscle up itself, because all those movements, all those exercises are slow twitch fiber exercises, like you're doing controlled pull-ups, controlled dips, and controlled push-ups. When it comes to the muscle up, we want to train our fast twitch muscle fibers, so we want to focus on being explosive in every pull-up, whether we're using resistance bands or doing weighted pull-ups. Our focus is to be as explosive as we can. I hope that answers your question, Christopher. Hi, I was afraid to try wider grip, but when I tried, I was surprised. I learned very much important things from you, like little swing, a wider grip, pulling with biceps, and last thing, very important, armpits. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for your comment, and I'm so happy that you benefited from my content and that you learned to muscle up faster with my tips. I'm so happy with that. And let's go through the things you mentioned in the comment. So the first thing he mentions is the wider grip. So the most common width for grabbing the bar for muscle ups is shoulder width apart. Most of us have the most explosive pull up from here, but that doesn't mean it's like that for everyone. So you can also try to have a slightly wider grip. That might be where you feel most explosive. So you can try to have this grip, shoulder width, or a little bit outside. So another thing he mentions was the small swing or little swing. The most common mistake that we do as beginners is that we're exaggerating the swing. It can sometimes look like this, a swing like this. And that will actually make the muscle up harder, because as you swing back and pulling up, you're actually coming further away from the bar. And we want to be as close to the bar as possible. So an optimal swing looks something like this. And what we often find is, even if it feels counterintuitive, is that the small swing makes the muscle up easier. So if you've been doing the big swing, try the smaller swing and tell me what you think in the comments. And he also mentions pulling with the biceps or the armpits. And I just want to explain that a little bit more for all of you that don't know what he means. So when you are initiating the pull, you can either focus on pulling from your biceps, like focusing on your biceps when you're pulling up, or you can focusing on pulling with your armpits, covering your armpits as fast as you can. These are cues that can help you make the muscle up more efficient and more powerful. And different cues works well for different people. You can try them both, focusing on your biceps when you're pulling up or pulling with your armpits. You want to choose the one that makes your pull up more powerful and creates the best bar path, which means you want to pull as close to the bar as possible. And one thing that he doesn't mention that's also very important is pull up timing. You don't want to pull too early. You want to pull in the backswing. So you're swinging forward a little bit, waiting a few milliseconds, and when you're swinging back, you pull up. And that looks like this. So right now I'm going to use the cue pulling with my armpits, covering my armpits as fast as I can, and pulling as I'm about to swing back. And thank you so much for your comment, and I hope this explanation can help others as well. So in my last video, I asked you all about what is the one tip that helped you most in your muscle up journey? And Greg writes, to answer your question about what small thing I learned that helped me recently is when a few weeks back I fully locked out my arms before the backswing, and that gave me the power to be able to carry through the transition so much more than if I was using bent arms, which I had a bad habit and couldn't get out of for months. Often in the beginning of our journey, we don't come down to fully locked arms before we're pulling up. One reason for that is that we think that not fully locking out by just coming down to here will make the muscle up easier because we don't have to travel so far. We don't have to go from here, but we can go from here. And in one way that's true, but when you want to do 2 consecutive muscle ups in a row or more, not fully locking out will mess up your muscle up flow, so to speak. So if you notice that you just coming down to here, try, as Greg says, coming down to fully straight arms and then coming up again. Hope that helps. And thank you, Greg. So Devin's Calisthenics says, I have perfected the maximum kipping muscle up. Haha. I definitely need to focus more on cleaning up technique now. I think my kip is equivalent to the black band at the moment, as I can do equivalent reps with that as with the body weight. Gotta focus on keeping my legs as straight as possible, and this will develop more explosive pulling strength, right? Thanks so much for your question and comment, Devin. Yeah, that is something that it's not spoken so much about, like what should we do with our legs during our muscle ups? So one thing that we can do is just to relax them, like relax the lower body as much as we can. And if you can control your legs while they are relaxed, it's perfect. We can also tense them, like tense our glutes, our legs, keeping our knees straight. And that looks like this, keeping the legs straight. So in one way the legs are following the body more, but the muscle up itself will feel more stiff. But as everything when it comes to the muscle up is such a personal preference, so please try them both. Relax your legs completely or tense them completely. And tell me what you think in the comments. Which one do you prefer the most? Great video. My goal is to do 1 clean rep with a 45-pound plate at 6'2", 205 pounds. I'm at 25 pounds right now, so long ways to go. Have you ever tried looking up at the bar while pulling? I've seen a lot of the pros look up at the bar, making them stay close to the bar as possible and get that good bar path, especially when it comes to weighted muscle ups, with the record being over 100 pounds, which is nuts. I feel awkward doing it, but probably because I'm not used to it. Thank you so much for your question, and I will just show you what he means by looking up. So if you watch the guys that can do really heavy muscle ups, the pros so to speak, not all of them, but some of them look up when they're pulling. So instead of looking straight forward, they look up at the bar like this. And for me that feels a little bit awkward, but as you say, it's also a thing that you can get used to. So that's a tip you can try as well, looking up at the bar while pulling, or just looking straight forward like this. So try them both and tell me in the comments which one you like the most. And thanks for your question. Alright, so I did my general warm-up as usual, and I did a few reps with the purple band, and now I'll do a few reps with the black band. Okay, so I noticed I was swinging a little bit too much in the last rep. So I'll do a warm-up set and try to swing a little bit less. And I see here that my resistance band is starting to break. A smaller swing, pulling with my armpits a little bit later in the swing. And last time I did 1 rep with the red band as well. I usually go from the black band to body weight, but I kind of like the middle step. And the red band feels like absolutely nothing. Feels like standing on air, but it gives a little support. Okay guys, so the first body weight muscle up for today. And today I'm using the dip belt setup instead of the ankle weights. And it's always so awkward warming up with the small plates. This is a 2 kilo. It's hard to keep it in place, but I'll do my best. Alright guys, so I made a jump from 2 kilos to 5 kilos. So this is called a bumper plate. The 5 kilo plates aren't usually this big. They're kind of this big only. The smaller plates are harder to control when you're doing muscle ups. This 5 kilo bumper plate is perfect, and I can also load the smaller ones on top of this one, and the weight doesn't wobble as much. All right, so I'll do 1 rep with 5 kilos. Alright guys, so I loaded a 2 kilo on the 5 kilo, so a total of 7 kilos. So in our muscle up training and in my muscle up training, it is impossible to add weight every single week and sometimes even month. In the beginning, you will make the so-called newbie gains and your progress will skyrocket for a while, and then it will taper off a little bit, and then it will slowly increase. So in my case, when I'm on my weighted muscle up journey, it's still very important for me to perfect the technique more and more instead of destroying myself each session. So at the moment I know that 10 kilo is my max weighted muscle up, my 1 rep max. So it makes more sense for me to keep training with like 5 kilos to 7 kilos, something around there, and also a little bit with body weight, with intention to slowly getting stronger and also slowly perfecting the technique more and more. All right, so 7 kilos, 1 rep. So I actually decided to start off with a weighted muscle up pyramid, and the 7 kilo was the top of the pyramid. So now I drop the 2 kilo and go back to 5 kilos again. All right, so back to the 2 kilo. All right guys, so I dropped the weights and now continue with my muscle up body weight pyramid, starting with 1 rep. Alright guys, 2 body weight muscle ups. Alright, the top set, 3 muscle ups, and the number 1 tip is to pull later in the swing. That will make the muscle up so much easier for you. You will have a better bar path and you won't get stuck under the bar. Two muscle ups. Alright guys, so the last muscle up